introduce our guest speaker. So I am delighted to welcome the Honorable Curtis Loftis. He is our state treasurer, and as our state's private banker, he manages, invests, and retains custody of nearly $60 billion in public funds. I know he'll discuss one of his very popular and successful programs, the state's Future Scholar 529 College Savings Program. Certainly helped me with my son, so thank you. And he'll talk about how his office returns unclaimed funds to South Carolina residents, and that's exciting as well. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a warm Lexington welcome to our state treasurer, Curtis Loftis.
Thank you. It's good to be here. It's so nice to see so many people. I didn't have COVID, but I'm blaming that on my memory lapse, because 2 years of not seeing people, I have forgotten everybody's name. I mean, I told that to my dad the other day, and the next day I walked in, he says, Curtis Sr. It's an odd time. It is good to be here. I was born under a repressive and tyrannical regime in Richland County, but 6 months later we came over to the land of freedom, and I've been here ever since. It's mainly like the people from West Virginia say, well, we would have gone further than Columbia, but this is a tank of gas. This is why we shot here. It's the same type of thing with the Loftis clan. We couldn't get out. It is nice to be here. I have to be careful. Being the state treasurer is not one of those things you can talk about for long. Even the bankers and the stockbrokers and the financial geeks, after a while, will put their heads down on the table and just go to sleep. Alan Wilson gets to come and talk to you about all the fun things he gets to do, and with crime and punishment, all that stuff. What do I get? You know, who wants to talk about the inverted yield curve? I do want to start off with a couple things. State Treasurer's Office, I can say I'm really proud of the Treasurer's Office. For those of you who don't know, I'll be real brief about my autobiography. I fell into office. I did not mean to run for office. I had been retired for 10 years. I got mad at the old guy. I went to talk to him, and he challenged me. All you guys know what that's all about. So I said, well, I've got 6 months. I can do this, because it was late in the cycle. And nobody had ever beat a sitting Republican in office in South Carolina, in a primary. And I did it. And I thought what was going to happen is we were going to get real competition. I thought the next time we'd all be opposed. But we went right back to believing that you couldn't do it. This is a kind of a backhanded way. The filing just closed, and I'm lucky I didn't have much opposition. But if I were honest, I would say, go back in time 2 weeks and file for office. We need more honest and honorable people running for office. And the language that's been spoken today, that's the currency of success, that's the currency of making things happen, it's the currency of protecting our culture and our business and our state and our community. So I hope that next time around, which will be sooner than you think, because the cities and the school districts and towns, that those elections come up faster than you think. So please think about that. Treasurer's Office, when I first got there, was a great place. There were a lot of people in it that were honorable and good people, but we had a lot of people who were like 35 years in the state government, or even close to 40. And there's a point at which you know you could have retired 10 years earlier, and it's like, I'm not going to work too hard. They're good people, and I don't regret employing any of them. But I did find out, for those of you who run large enterprises, how to get rid of people. It's called computer conversion. That does it. You mention a 5-year, $6 million computer conversion, and they all jump out the windows. No talk about. But now we've gone from a business or a state treasurer's office that I truly understood. I could go upstairs, I could make suggestions, I could help them with all the complexities, to a place where I go upstairs, I have no idea what they're talking about. We have moved so far beyond the average state treasurer's office. We might have, I'm sure we have a Wells Fargo or Bank of America person or someplace. All the states have to use big banks. We can't use it very much. We can't use small banks because it's just a function of size. So last night I think we had about $34 billion in the bank or invested. So of course small banks can't manage that. But we broke the mold, both Wells Fargo and Bank of America, who train all 50 states, and they work with us, they're good partners. They came back and they said, nobody's ever asked what you've asked for before. And a lot of that is because I didn't know what I shouldn't ask for. But now we're the most independent. We can do our verifications for the taxpayer that other treasurers can't do. So, long and the short of all that, I want you to feel good about your treasurer's office. I want you to know that every night when money's whizzing around the entire world, and we make our 4.5 million payments every year, I forgot how many deposits we make, that's the key number, right? It's safe and secure as it moves around the world. Now, the treasurer's office also does things other than mess with complexity. I mean, thousands of charts, hundreds and hundreds of people that we deal with, the billions of dollars, all that stuff that's just gotten beyond me now. We have fun. Reverend Rejection just mentioned to me about taxes being high, and I got to say, well, I'm the happy treasurer. I don't collect taxes. We write checks. We write your vendor checks, we write your payroll checks, we write your retirement checks, and unclaimed property checks. That's what I'm going to speak about now. Every one of y'all, well, let me ask this question, and no telling tales. How many of you checked your name at the Unclaimed Properties office at the Treasurer's office? Hey, it's a sign of intellectual acuity here. Y'all done well. In addition to being good looking, you're smart. I go around with these lists. Everywhere I go, I'll have them give me a list. Now, we have 15 or so people in the office. We go out to big business around the country, even around the world, but mainly New York, Boston, Charlotte, Atlanta, places like that. Wherever there are people who might have our citizens or our corporation's money. Take a John Hancock. We went there, we brought back $75 million that they owed our people, and that's just one. So we have $750 million. Now, I know every one of y'all are sitting there thinking, I'm just too smart to have any money down there. We have to, it's the funnest part of my job, and it's also the hardest part of my job, making a 65-year-old woman believe that she has $588,000 in my office. You just wouldn't believe it. We call a licensed developer and say, we've got $1 million for you. What? It's one of those things. I'll tell you a couple stories. Of course, we have that staff that works with it, but in dealing with politicians, I see the auditor back there, he knows at some point you got to have a little fun, because inside the system is not easy. So I'll go around with my list. And like here in Lexington County, I've started, the first person on my list is $228,000. Now, I've been tracking that guy off and on for a while, because he's real difficult. But I finally found out he's in a care home. And as a young adult, he might be 40 by now, I've forgotten. But now I've got to get past the HIPAA laws, and we'll do that. But we'll get to him. We have people like the Calvin Kiesler estate. We owe them money. We got to track them down. Got to track down the right lawyer. The Campbells, the Trambles. I mean, we have just people who are your friends and your neighbor. We owe them money. A couple of months ago, we had a lady down in Aiken, or North Augusta actually, and her daddy was a train conductor for CSX. And he died, and he was 93 years old, and it kept popping up on my list, and I said, we should be able to find these people. I mean, we couldn't. So I got to it. Started looking around, calling people, finally found the lady. I was excited. I called her one Saturday because I thought she'd be home. And she's 65 or 70. And I said, my name's Curtis Loftis. I'm the state treasurer. We manage the Unclaimed Property Program. And we have some money for you. Your father died. And it's a significant amount of money. I'd like you to go to the website, and you can file a claim that way, or you can call your local representatives, you can call the governor's office, whoever. You know, I'm trying to give her some confidence that I'm not asking her for information. She said, no, thank you, click. Now, I'm used to that, right? Because the government, we spend half our time telling people, don't talk to people on the phone, especially if you're older. But I'm also in politics, and I'm a guy, so I know all about rejection. So I called her back and talked to her again, no thank you again. So I'm looking at the obituary for her father, and I said, he was a Mason. And the Mason, the head guy from Mason World, lives here in Lexington, as I understand it. Called him. He says, I know that guy. Oh, I knew him. And I'll call her. He called her. She was having no part of it. She didn't believe it. Got off the phone. I said, well, Jason Goins is the county treasurer of Aiken. He's a spunky guy. He's not a real big guy, but if you need somebody to go through that wall, Jason is your man. Jason will find it. He went down there, no luck. I'm running out of people. Then I remembered Bill Hickson. He's the representative from down there. So I called Bill, and Bill said, yeah, I sold the old man insurance. I know that family. I've been there lots of times. I said, great. Go down there and tell her we've got $588,000 in stock for her. And if you can make the claim, I'll give you all the information. So he goes down there, and sure enough, she believes everything he says. He fills out the paperwork. And in the end, it was $588,000, but we always do a final search. There's $200,000 in dividends, $788,000. Bill drops off the check, and she says something to the effect, Bill, my father thought the world of you. I'm so glad you did this. But those other 3 people were crooks. I should go on. I'll tell one more of these things because it's just amazing. And I do these on Saturdays and stuff, you know, and I have a little spare time. So I found this woman. Oh, there was a boutique textiles. Who knows what guy knows what that means? None of us, right? It's fancy tablecloths and sheets and things. There was a couple who lived on Laburnum Drive in Greer, South Carolina. You chase people, try to give them money, you know where you never forget them because it's a lot of work. They had this business, they were making a ton of money, but they said, we don't have time to have an accounting system, but we're just not going to do it. Because we're making so much money, we've got a limited time, we'll go out of favor. If we lose a little money along the way, it'll be okay. What they didn't think of was the 45-year-old husband in perfect shape died. So she sold out, left the state. Well, I started tracking her and couldn't find her. And then, and I've forgotten the name. Karen, you remember the name? It's where you can go online and see gravestones. You can see people's gravestones. Find a grave. Findagrave.com. I use it all the time, but I've got it saved. You can find a gravestone with your own name. That's interesting. There's a Curtis Melvin Loftis from Chicago, the exact same name of mine. He's already passed. And I'm looking at his thing. Oh, okay, here we are. But anyway, so I found the mother gravestone in South Dakota, of all places. Tracked her back to a son-in-law in New Jersey. Now, remember the old movies from the 40s and 50s, maybe even the 30s, that were on the waterfront, and the guys were carrying heaters, and they could fit you for cement shoes. These guys who were in the mob, right? That's who answered my telephone. I don't have any doubt about it. I called him on Saturday. I was in a good mood. I've been looking for this lady forever. I found her. I found her like 2 o'clock in the morning the night before because I was asleep well. I got up, I was looking. And I can't call at 2 o'clock. So the next morning I called. I was so excited. And I started talking to the guy. I'm Curtis Loftis. I'm the state treasurer. You know, gave the whole thing. And he says, click. That's all I heard. Boom. I thought, well, he's good. Rejection is my friend. So I called him back a second time. I got about halfway into it, clicked again. And I'm starting to get mad about this because, you know, I hadn't offended the guy yet. And I thought, well, should I call him back? And then I remembered I could be brave. I could be courageous because he's 700 miles from me. And he's not likely to come looking for me down here. So I called him back a 3rd time and I said, I promise you, if you give me 30 seconds, you'll never hear from me again. All right. So I said, I told him who I was, and we owe your sister-in-law money. It's a lot of money. She can go to the Treasurer's Office website. She can call the Governor's Office. She can do whatever she wants, but we've got this money for her. And we'd really like it if you would give her this information. Or you can give her my number, call me back, doesn't matter. He says, nothing. And I thought, has he hung up on me again? Is he that good? I mean, he's better than I am, not much. Then he says, okay, I'll tell her. But I want you to know something. I don't like you. I don't trust you. I think you're that Nigerian prince who follows me around the internet. And you have the worst fake Southern accent I've ever heard. So it wasn't long until Deborah K. Scott, Laburnum Drive, Greer, South Carolina, now of Charleston, she moved back down here, she called the sweetest, nicest woman you'd ever talked to. It was about $288,000. Then we checked a couple other states. It was about $400,000 or so. You're probably not going to have $400,000, but it's a good chance you'll have $500 or $300 or something like that. I can give someone a check for $500,000 or $600,000 or $700,000, and they're thankful and they leave, and I never see or hear from them again. If you give a single mother of $350, she'll cry, and at Christmas time she sends you a thank you note. I want you to think about that. And so we talk about the big ones because there are out there. We have just millions and millions of dollars, these big claims. But it's really for the grandmother whose husband has got early onset dementia and he's laying on the sofa and this is her medicine. Or this is the Uber rides to the hospital or whatever. So that's why we do it. And it's a lot of fun. Charities, churches, your pastors, the corporations, Girl Scout troops, all of that has money. And so take a look for it. Even if you don't find it for yourself, you can find money for other people. Let's see here. A couple other programs, because I'm running long on that. 529 plan, most of you know about that. That's the college savings plan. You beat the tax man 3 times. Again, I'm the happy treasurer. I don't mess with taxes. But we can beat the tax man 3 times. If you combine that with low fees, it is the best way to save the money, to save college. There's a new wrinkle on the 529 plan. It's called the 529A. If you have somebody with disabilities in your life, this is really important. The federal government has said, it's their idea. They came up with this. You can save money in this 529A account for life expenses, and it does not affect your benefits from the federal or state government. They are excluded. So if you've got somebody in your life that has disabilities, you know that's a major problem. But this allows you to do all sorts of things. Pay basic living expenses, pays for housing. This is not connected to college. This is for that person with disabilities. Pays for transportation, take an Uber to the doctor's office. All sorts of employment training, legal fees. It's designed for people with disabilities and their families to be able to save money, have it in a liquid form so they can just write a check or use a debit card and make their life better. That people with disabilities no longer have to go around and be as broke as possible. So that's important. I'll end with the last thing. State government has a lot of money. County and city governments, even though they won't claim it as much, they have a lot of money. Education system has a lot of money. We have borrowed trillions of dollars and brought it forward to now. So if you're not talking to your state representative, if you're not talking to your county councilman or city councilman, if you're not talking to the agencies you might deal with, say if it's DSS or DHS or whoever, you're making a mistake. It's being authorized to go out, but how they're actually going to spend it is yet to be determined in many cases. So if you work with a 501c3 or even the co-ops, people like that, go get the funds. Now, people will tell you, well, it's already spent. Don't believe it. What you have to do is follow the money down to where it's going. And if it's a place that's of interest to you, even if your business can do business, because we need more vendors to spend the money. One of the problems you have when you have a massive sum of money is how do you spend it? I'm not making any judgment on whether the General Assembly is doing the right or wrong thing. Pastor, if you had 25,000 people show up for church one day, that's a great problem to have, but what do? They're all here. They can't get inside. They sent so much money from D.C. over the last 2 or 3 years, and then our receipts for gas taxes and sales tax have been up. It's a lot of money. Now, I don't want you to think, when you leave here, that Curtis said, hey, the money's falling off the trees. But if you've got an idea, take it to them. I'll finish with this. It's time to be creative. We saw a week ago where some money was not going to be wisely spent. It was $50 million. So Senator John Scott and I have been working on this for about a week to try to get rerouted from a wasteful program to a good program. And it's designed for small businesses, minority and rural owners of businesses. And we were able to get that money, and now it's going to a place where it's going to end up where it was supposed to go. And that's in the pockets of aspiring young men and women who want to start businesses in South Carolina. So that's the key. That's one thing we've been able to do. But you know, check, talk to your representatives, look at the budget, read the newspaper, go online, look at the state website, and start looking at all the money that's out there and claim some of it because it's yours. And it was sent to South Carolina for a reason, and the reason was supposed to be spent for our purposes. So make sure that you're talking to your representatives and get that done. It's been a great honor to serve y'all. I've been in office a whole lot longer than I thought I was going to ever be. I've gotten long in the tooth, so I've gotten real frank. If you ever need anything, let me know, because because we'd like to help you. Thank you very much.